So we welcome all the devotees for our last module of ongoing online Bhakti Shastri in English. That's module 5, which consists of Nectar of Instruction and Ishopanishad. So today we will be starting the text 1 and also we try to complete the text 2 also. So start with Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamyam Dadati Sakalantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jitapadakamala Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvikam Tam Sudevam Sadaitam Savabhutam Purijana Sahitam Vishnu Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Shakantikam Namoham Vishnu Padan Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanto Swami Bhaktina Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Paschat Deshitarini Panchakalputaru Asya Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanukku Vaishnava He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kandaradha Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sukha Devi Pranamami Nilachara Nivasaya Nityaya Paramam Balabhadra Subhadraham Jagannatha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauri Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Mukam Karati Vachan Kundulam Kripam Sri Guru Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So today we will start reading from Nectar of Instruction, verse number 1. So Vachavegam Manusakrodhavegam Jihavegam Udarupasthavegam Etan Veganja Vishaheta Dhira Sarvanga Pivam Prithivekashisha. Can anyone recite this verse? The first verse?
What's it, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Vacho Begam, Manasa, Krodha Vegam, Jiha Vegam, Udaropastha Vegam, Itana Vegam, Yo Vishahete, Dhiraha, Sarvam Apimam, Prathivim Sa Sishyata.
This verse, I think this verse is there in the list of the verse to memorize. The first 4 verse of Nectar of Instruction is to memorized. So here, can anyone from Mataji's side read the translation?
Hare Krishna. Translation. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world.
Thank you, Mataji. So here, Srila Prabhupada is starting the purport from quoting a Bhagavatam verse which has been spoken by Parishit Maharaj to Srila Shukdev Goswami. He was asking a question. So actually, this verse is related to sense control. Okay. So after, so just I am giving a brief background of this prelude of this purport. So this verse is what we have discussed last time, that this verse is related to sense control, senses. How the senses is pushing. Urge means some pushing. Urgently we need to respond. The situation is like that. When we are coming under control, we are experiencing some urge means some pushing of senses. Sensual pushing is there. Uh, and we need to respond very urgently. That is urge. So that has been asked here. Rupa Goswami is telling that we need to tolerate. So here Vishoheto Dhiro. Vishoheto means Shaheto. Shaheto means tolerate. And Vishoheto means who can tolerate completely. So this is the word we need to understand. We need to tolerate completely. There will be pushing of urges because we are in this material world and we are having the material body. So material body has some kind of appetite. So that appetite will be there. But we need to regulate. Tolerate means we need to regulate. And we will do it as we have discussed. We'll do it in a Krishna conscious way. That is the way of Bhakti Yoga. That is how Krishna is implicitly present here. Not explicitly, but implicitly present here. Subtle way Krishna is there in this verse. Because the purport will be will clarify this, will enlighten us in further detail. So now regarding the sense control, Srila Prabhupada is quoting this verse from Bhagavatam. And the background is after this is starting from the sixth canto, first chapter. So the fifth canto has ended with the description of hellish planets. So after hearing the description of hellish planet, as Vaishnavas are very much compassionate, Karo dukhe dukhi. So Parikshit Maharaj was thinking that how uh, he was eager to understand that how a conditioned soul can avoid going down to the hellish planet. So in that context, Parishut Maharaj asked Shukdev Goswami that how they can be avoided, what they can do to not to landed up to not to doom to hellish planet and suffer miserably. So then Parikshit Maharaj, then Shukdev Goswami, just to test Parikshit Maharaj, has cited this verse. We'll show this verse. So, no, that verse is not there. He has told, Shukdev Goswami has been told by uh, Parishit Maharaj that by doing atonement, they can avoid going to hellish planet. So what is atonement? Prayaschitta. By doing prayaschitta. When we have discussed about the Kleshagni part, can anybody remember? We discussed about this prayaschitta also.
হ্যাঁ ওই
Bhakti
হাতি এলিফ্যান্ট এক্সাম্পলটা ছিল
আমরা এটা ডিসকাস করেছিলাম যখন আমরা ক্লেশাগ নিয়ে আলোচনা করছিলাম। তা আমি ওই জন্য বেশি ডিটেলসে ঢুকবো না, জাস্ট ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ডটা দিচ্ছি যে সেই সময় পরীক্ষিত মহারাজ ওয়াজ বিন টোল্ড বাই সুখদেব গোস্বামী দ্যাট বাই ডুইং প্রায়শ্চিত্ত ইউ ক্যান অ্যাভয়েড প্রায়শ্চিত্ত মিনস দেয়ার আর সাম ভৈদিক injunctions given in some dharma shastras. Right? If you are committed this kind of sinful activity, you can counteract by doing this thing. So that kind of instructions are there in Vedic injunction. So when Parikshit Maharaj has been told by Shukdev Goswami about this solution, Parikshit Maharaj was not very happy. He said, Shiraju vacha drishta srutabham yat papam jnanam atmana hitam karati bhuvo vivasho prayaschittam mato katham. The king said, though the jiva knows that sinful acts are detrimental, by seeing and hearing, he helplessly commits sin again. What is the use? What is the use of atonement? And then he said, Koschin nivartate bhadrat, koschit nivartate avadrat, koschit charati tat punah, prayaschittam atho apartham, manne kunjara shauchavat. So after withdrawing from sin, one commits the sin again. I think atonement is useless, like an elephant bathing. So here, Parikshit Maharaj has asked very interesting question. He said that what is the use of this atonement? Atonement is like elephant bathing because the propensity of committing sin again is already there. So what is the use of this kind of atonement? So that means by doing that kind of atonement also, a conditioned living entity cannot avoid completely, guaranteedly. It is not a guarantee. Atonement is not a karmakandi or atonement is not a guarantee that he will not land up to hellish planet. So here Srila Prabhupada to explain this point, Prabhupada is giving this example, thief steals even after punishment. And in that context, Prabhupada given four level of intelligence. First class intelligence is the person someone is hearing from scripture. Okay, stealing is sinful activity. Don't do. So someone by hearing who is the first class intelligent person, he will not do stealing. Okay. Second class intelligence is he just not by hearing he will be convinced. He need to see that what happens, what is the consequence of stealing. Oh, consequence of stealing is one will be punished, one will put into jail and will be punished, and he will be treated very badly. So those things is required just to see. You need to see that oh, this is the things. So then I will not commit this. Third class is even after seeing, he need to experience. He has heard it but not understood. He had seen it that someone has stolen some other's property and has been put into jail and undergone punishment, but he has not understood. He himself, then also he committed that offense, that sinful activity, and then he has been put into, he is arrested, put into jail, and he experienced the punishment of jail. Then he understood, oh no, and then I will not stay. So this is a third class person. And fourth class is, in spite of having experiencing the punishment, is not at all understand, did not learn, still not learn. So this is the fourth class situation that they remain the same. So this fourth class is actually the Kunjara Shauchava. So similarly, chanting Hare Krishna and at the same time performing any forbidden things are also like Kunjara Shauchava. So that's why sometimes we have been asked that we have got the best process to purify us. Not only purify us, we can get the highest perfection of human form of life, that is Krishna Prema. But then also why the sadhakas are not progressing. Some sadhakas, they are trying for many years, but they are not progressing in their Krishna consciousness. What is the reason? So reason is they are hidden illicit activities. Hidden illicit means I just mean to say that non-devotional inclinations, non-devotional or anti-devotional inclinations. So that means the same thing. It is boiling down to the same thing that they are performing something which is putting them back to zero, back to square. You say back to square. So that is the point that we need to understand that this is the basic principle of controlling the six urges. So first, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that if we are hearing no meditating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. But even though we are doing and externally we may show, we may be acting as a show bottle devotee, that we are wearing country tilak, Vaishnava etiquette. Externally we might be following, but internally we are keeping some illicit connection, maybe through social media, through mobile phone. So then we are falling into this category. So this Bhagavatam is actually the description of various case studies where devotees have undergone various kind of difficulties, tribulations. They have experienced, they have committed some mistake, they have committed some aparadh, and what consequence that happened. By that, Bhagavatam is actually alerting us. So that alert we need to understand by hearing. So we need to become a first class intelligent person so that we can learn just by hearing. We need not to get to see or experience. So, but those who are, but this is, but what is the point here? Shukdev Goswami, Purti Moral was telling that just by doing atonement, some activity, it is not possible. So, thieves are like that. Thieves are, are die hard. They are core uh, criminals. The core kind of criminals are there. Like they don't change, even though there are no, yes, I will do 10 stealing, maybe in one case I will be caught, then again I will be free up, then again I will do, so like that kind. So this is a Kunjara. So Prabhupada has given another example of Christians confession in church. In church, Christians in the weekend they go and they confess that we will not commit any sinful activity, this thing, that thing they will confess, and then again from Monday they will start doing the same sinful activity, and again they will go. So that going and confessing the their sinful activities is just like become a ritual. Same thing happens with the atonement also, and same thing can happen. নামনাথ যস্য নামনাথ মানে নাম বলে পাপ পাপাচরণ যেটাকে বলা হয়। So in that on the strength of name someone is committing the seventh offense. So it will be like in Kunjara Shaucha. So we need to be free from this. Okay. So this we have already discussed this thing. So what is the reason? So this reason also we have described Papo Avidya. This is the same thing. So the real atonement. So the real atonement is what? Real atonement. Already we have discussed this thing. The real atonement is awakening Krishna consciousness. Because devotional service is the superior activity. It removes sinful activity from the heart. It causes attachment to serving Krishna. Param Drishta Nivartate, higher taste. So this is the main thing. Otherwise, temporary, as we have discussed earlier also, temporary we may get some benefit. Temporary we may avoid some sinful reactions also. But it is a temporary solution, not a permanent solution, because the propensity is still there. So, real atonement is standard process. Is sinful activity cannot be counteracted by pious activity. What does it mean? A sinful activity cannot be counteracted by pious activity. It means that it can be counteracted for a temporary reason, for some temporary time, but permanently it cannot be, because the heart, the sinner's heart is not cleansed off. The real practice atonement is awakening of our dormant Krishna. Real atonement involves coming to real knowledge, and for this there is regulative principles. For regulative principle, austerity, celibacy, mind. So there are two process of real atonement. One is Jnana process, and another is straight way. This is the elevator process. This is the elevator means the steps one by one process, and this is the direct process. Okay. Direct process, Krishna consciousness is a direct process. So this process is tapasya, brahmacharya, samena, damena. So this process is regulative principles you have to follow: yoga, austerity, celibacy, mind control, brahmacharya, renunciation, truthfulness, yoga asana. So by this we can cleanse off our propensity. Okay. But the another easy process, or we can say this process takes more time. It will take more time. I was reading today one quote from Bhanusai Maharaj. He was telling that by Varnashram and Jnana also we can be purified, but it takes a long time. But by Krishna consciousness, it can be done in one life. That's why Krishna says, Bahunam Janmunam Jnanavanam. Bahunam Janmunam. It will take many ones. It is a valid path. It is a perfect path, but it is a very long path, time-consuming path. But rather than that, if we somehow be fortunate, Brahmanda Bhumite Kono Bhagwan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai, If we somehow, by some fortune, if we come in contact with a pure devotee and we hear Krishna Katha, we hear Krishna Katha from him, and we follow the instruction of Krishna's of that pure devotee, then immediately our the Krishna consciousness will be awakened. So in this process also, Krishna consciousness will be awakened, but it will take a long time. But this is a Bhakti Yoga is a very simple process. The Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga also will give some benefit, some fruit of purification, of attaining the Krishna consciousness. It will take a long time. And ultimately, by purifying in that process, one has to come to this Bhakti Yoga path. So why not take right away, straight away by this process? So we need to follow spiritual master instruction. And what is the instruction? Instruction is following four regulative principles. And not only four regulative by chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the medicine, and four regulative principle is the light. So if we follow these two things, then we are through. So now we will say the definition of tapasya. This tapasya is a methodical training according to certain regulative principle to derive original knowledge. The Bhakti Shastri says to practice restricting the six demands or urges is called tapasya, and such a person is called tapasya. The traditional tapasya is this gradual elevation, one to knowledge. This tapasya brahmacharjena, shamena, cha damena, cha tyagena. त्यागेन शुद्ध शौचम त्यागेन शुद्ध शौचम शौचम जमेन नियमेन वा देहवाग्भिः बुद्धिजं धीरधर्मो यो श्रद्धान्विता क्षिप्पन्त अहं महदपि वेणुगूलम् इवानलः. So this also has been told by by Shukdev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj in that context also. That how one can be free from sinful acts. So details of traditional process of Jnana and Yoga, practicing austerity, celibacy, controlling the mind, controlling senses, giving one possessions, or the charity, being avowedly truthful, keeping clean, practicing yogasanas. The wise destroys even dead sin arising from the body. It burns bamboo, not bamboo roots. So that is the point. It burns away the trees, but not the roots. Okay. Just like the fire destroys the clumps of bamboo. So Rupa Goswami recommended the path of Bhakti Yoga. So benefits is only one easily surpasses all other practices. Practice involves what? Association of purity. This is most important. Regulative principles of Krishna consciousness, engaging in the service of Supreme Lord. Krishna consciousness destroys sinful reactions, plants desire seeds, counteracts sinful proclivities, and uproots evil. So this gives the immunity. This Krishna consciousness is such a assured vaccination from committing sinful, to get rid of the sinful propensity. It will immune us from having from developing the root, the seed of papa bijam. So the bijam, why it is happening? Because by Krishna consciousness the avidya is destroyed. Avidya vinasho jate prema bhakti tat. So by prema bhakti, by Krishna prema, the avidya is completely destroyed. So that is the point. So this path is assured path, easy path, sublime path, and the best suited for the Kali Yuga person. So conclusion is Krishna consciousness is the best solution to control six arts. So now we will be seeing the controlling of these six the principles of tolerating these six urges in the context of Bhakti Yoga, not in any other way. So this we need to understand. That is the point we discussed in last class, the attitude. The attitude of the bhakta is to counteract everything by doing Bhakti Yoga. In Jnana path, it is completely different. Jnana and Yoga path, it is completely different way. Jnana, karma, they deal with karma is like karma kandiyo, that prayashchitta. Jnana is like we have discussed just now. by following brahmacharya, by doing asanas, yoga asanas, this kind of thing. This is very difficult, which Arjuna has already rejected. So what is our hope? So the main so for us we need to do it in Krishna consciousness. So what is wrong having a material desire? So this you all know. I will not elaborate on this thing because material desire means we will not be satisfied ever. Material desire means we are wasting our time because material desire means uh, this will keep us in the bondage of material world and keep us in suffering condition. So the bhakti yoga is this. This is a very nice example given by this pendulum. Okay, so this is as we have discussed during in the context of bhakti rasamrita sindhu also that bhakti yoga, the qualification for bhakti yoga is not oti asakti for the material sense enjoyment and not oti virakti from material enjoyment. These are the two extreme points. One is asakti and one is virakti. Extreme point. We need to be in the mean position, center position. We need to utilize. We need not to make our senses starving, senses starve for sense enjoyment. We should engage rishikeno rishikesho, shevanam bhakti vichya. But we should not misuse. We should not misuse uh, in, in titillating our senses, agitating our senses by giving them the sensual objects. So by engaging, so why this bhakti yoga is a mean position or assured position? Because here the senses are engaged in a proper way. In bhakti for the bhogis, the senses are misused, and in tyagi, senses are unused. So misused and unused both are actually bad. Both are bad and both will not is not sustainable. Misuse is misuse will cause so many sinful reactions, and no use will make us in a dangerous situation that any time it can be misused. But proper utilization of the senses in the service of Krishna and his devotees make the senses satisfied and give us the direction that we are satisfying Krishna. So this is called akarma. This is vikarma, and this is nishkarma. No work, no action. So in our case, the no action is actually no material action, but positive spiritual action. So Krishna Bhakti is the full uh, utilization of the senses. Somebody has raised hand.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare
Yes.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, when we say of no action, so like as Krishna says in Gita, like there cannot be a moment where anybody is actually without any work. So when we say no action, is there anything as no action to be?
No action means the imaginary thing that we will not do any work.
Okay.
That is an imagination. They are in their imagination that they Brahma Tattva Jagat Mithya. By negating the material world, they want to say that we are nothing to do in this material world.
Okay. So that is their imagination.
They reject the material activity, and in that rejection, they reject the opportunity to utilize the material world or material objects in the Krishna service also. So that rejection is actually called a no action. They are thinking that we will only do Om Shanti, Om Shanti. That Om Shanti is also an activity. By breathing also we are unintentionally killing many animals. So they think that action means will bring us reaction. But there can be another way of action, doing action, which will free from any reaction. So in fear of having reaction, they reject action. So that's why there is a verse, action in action, in action in action. So that is the most confusing verse in the entire Bhagavad Gita. So that is actually nothing but jnana and karma. This pendulum only, what I have explained.
Prabhu, one more thing, Prabhu. Like in the beginning, you mentioned like how nectar of instruction gives example that one who learns by hearing is the best.
Yes.
Like apart from like seeing and then experiencing, but then for in spiritual life, we also give more importance to someone who has heard and then realized the knowledge, like realized the knowledge themselves.
Ah.
They have experienced it.
No, that realization is not the realization of the here. The experience means the experience of suffering. Here I mean the experience means the experience of suffering. Someone has been told that stealing is a sinful activity. Illicit sex is sinful activity. But someone does not understand. He commit that, he get entangled, gets suffer, gets punishment in some way or other, and then you understand, oh yes, yes. So this is a practical. This is in context with uh, material misuse of senses,
Okay.
violating the four regulatory principles, basically, in that context, or violating the scriptural injunction in general sense, violating the code of conduct, code of general conduct, of religious conduct. So that's okay. So so now we understood the general principle of, so these are the verse we discussed. Now real atonement also we understood. The real atonement is the Krishna conscious way of atonement. So now the first one is to control the speaking power, speech. How we can control the speech. Okay. So I would like to ask you how you can control the speech. What is the best way of controlling the speech? What is your experience? Anybody like to share? Please quickly. Please respond quickly. Time is running.
Prabhu, we're discussing about Krishna, like from Srila Prabhupada books, and coming together and doing kirtan.
Yes. So here, our now onwards, we will utilize. We will see how in a bhakti yoga process, how applying bhakti yoga, we can we can tolerate all these urges. Okay. So we will see now there are some right way of controlling the urges and the wrong way of controlling the urges. So Prabhupada will give contrasting examples. Okay. So I will not go exactly with the verses, all the sections, but uh, yes. So Prabhupada has given example in in the book, the how Gyanis are trying to utilizing the urge of speak. They are speaking related to Nirvishesh Bhav. And the Kormis are speaking all materialistic talk. Okay. And Prajalpo. And this materialistic talk, so the Prabhupada has given an example of frog. Okay. The frog is stroking and invites his own death by snake. And also, the mundane books are also falling under this uh, Pachabegam. Okay, that do not describe Lord Krishna's glories are the pilgrimage of the place for crows. So Prabhupada will quote that verse from Bhagavatam. So, show this verse. न यद्वचश्चित्रपदं हरे हरेर्जशो जगत्पवित्रं प्रगणितो कर्हचित् तद्वैषं तीर्थं उशन्ति मानस न यत्र हंसो निर्मन्तो शिक्षया. Those words which do not describe the glories of the word of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows, since the all perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there. So there are two kinds of persons has been described here. One is crows kind of mentality, and the what is the Rajhangsha, swan kind of mentality. The swan kind of mentality, they don't take any pleasure. Hangsha and Vayasham. These are the two types of people are there in this world. So the karmis are considered like that. And Mandan books are also like that. And another is mono, silence. So that is same thing. They are not using the senses. Silence is also described another way of controlling the senses. In this regard, there was a funny joke, a funny story actually. It was a true story actually. So there was a one person in Vrindavan. It is a long time ago. It is at least, I think, 15, 15 or 20 years ago. The incident happens like that. So some devotees of ISKCON has visited Vrindavan, and somebody told them that there is a Baba who has not spoken for last 15 years. I don't know whether I have told this story earlier or not. And then you can meet him. So when the devotees went there, uh, that Baba has not spoken now, to see how he has tolerated. He has not spoken silent for so many years. So, but in front of him there was a slate and chalk pencil was there. So he has not spoken, but for his daily requirement he used to write, and by that he managed his requirements, natural requirements. So when the devotees went there, so in the slate, that person wrote, "What is the score of India and Pakistan?" So he has heard there is a match going on that day about India and Pakistan, and it was a very crucial match, and he wanted to know the score. So that is the difference. So that is the what is the use of such kind of silence. So that is the non-using the senses. This happens actually because his senses are not satisfied. We need to understand senses need some food. Kurmis are giving bad food. Gyanis are not giving the food. At least they are thinking that they are not giving the food. And in Bhakti Yogis, they are giving the right kind of food. So this is a simple, and that's why it is easy method. So these are the wrong way of. So Gyanis, so one is Gyanis, Kurmis. In the Gyanis, one is Nirvisheshvadi and no speaking, and the Kurmis are like a frogs. So both these two paths are gone. So we cannot rely on that. So that's why, and another is like Videshi people, those who are envious. That's the words they use the words in such a way that hurt people's heart. Okay. So hard-hearted people. So that is also not the right way of controlling the art of speech. The right way of appropriate way of controlling the speech is Krishna Katha. So that is the controlling the spiritual reading spiritual books, discussing about spiritual topics, and doing Krishna Seva. Krishna Seva is like after once read tolerate the urge, utilize the urge properly, he will get the service. So, in this way, we can come to the solution. And in that context, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned the verse. It is there in your book, so I'm not showing again and again. Tad bhag visarga janatag viplava jasmin pratislagam abadhavati api namanna anantasya jasha ankitani jat srinanti srinanti gayanti vinanti sadhavo. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendent glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc. of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of these world's misdirected civilizations. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Thoroughly honest. Sadhava means thoroughly honest. So we need to understand that. So here Srila Prabhupada is giving a contrast. There are many mundane books that may be written in a perfect, grammatically perfect way. What is the use if there is no Krishna Katha? Where is though that there is no glorification? Where is that there is no opportunity to transform the heart of the people? So that is the point. So Prabhupada was telling in one lecture, I was hearing recently that before he started this movement, there were many books on Bhagavad Gita. But how many hearts has been transformed? Because those books were misinterpreted or not given properly the knowledge. It was not a as it is transmission of the precedents, acharyas. So that's why that does not have the effect, the impact. So next is the controlling of the mind. Okay. How the mind is controlled? So mind activity, there are two kinds of activities has been described by Rupa Goswami. One is Abhirodh Priti. What is Abhirodh Priti? Abhirodh Priti means an unrestricted attachment for something. That is called Abhirodh. In the mind actually, this Kam, Krodh, Moho, Lobh, Moth, Moshad, the Shara Ripus are agitating this mind. And out of that, the mind is developing some attachment. I need this. I need to buy this latest mobile phone. I need to buy this latest EV car. So some waves of desire is coming, and that desire at one point of time become unrestricted. That becomes an urge. So that urge is called Abhirodh Priti. So this will be asked. The one question will be there, that what is Abhirodh Priti? It is there in your study. So that means the unrestricted attachment. What is the unrestricted attachment? What are the unrestricted attachments are there? The Jnani's attachment for Mayavadi philosophy. They are attached, very much attached. Kurmis are attached in the fruitive activities, karmakandu activities. And materialistic people, those who hardly care for any scripture, they are attached to fulfill their own desire. Okay. So in this way, mind is creating so many artificial, so many unrestricted attachments. Okay, and is running, is pushing the living entity to fulfill those desires. So mind control possible only by. So now how this mind can be controlled? So this mind can be controlled only by thinking of Krishna. Shabai Mana Krishna Charana. So by thinking the Krishna's lotus feet. I was reading the 10th canto. In that, the description of Krishna's lotus feet is there. And the significance of the Krishna's lotus feet, there are various symbols there in the Krishna's lotus feet. And there, each and every symbol has a particular significance. So Srila Vishwanath Chakraborty Thakur has quoted from Padma Puran, various Puranas about the description. So it was very wonderful description. It is there in Rasa Panchadhyaya, and in one chapter it is there. So if you get a chance, you can read those part, that part particularly. So you can develop an impression in your mind about the Krishna's lotus feet. And when you are visiting Radha Govinda temple or Radha Bhakti Vinod Ashram or any temple, we should see the lotus feet and try to take an impression in our heart. So that way we can actually able to uh, utilize, engage the mind, disengage the mind from this unrestricted avirot priti. We need to develop priti towards bhajatang priti purvakam. So by developing the priti for Krishna consciousness, by developing priti to serve the lotus feet of Krishna and his devotees, we can overcome this unrestricted materialistic attachment for grabbing various or grabbing some material objects. So this is one thing is thinking, another is meditating on Krishna's pastimes. So Krishna's pastime sometimes may be little bit esoteric pastimes. So better is Chaitanya Charitamrita pastimes are there. That is very simple pastimes. And as we are Bengalis mostly, we can read Chaitanya Charitamrita. And how the Chaitanya Lila is very simple, and we can meditate on that. So that is very, we can at least understand. And that meditation is very easy. Okay, at least the Madhya Lila, the Jagannath Rath Yatra Lila, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Ballo Lila, Kaishar Lila, so many Lilas are there. Even Chaitanya Krishna's Ballo Lila is also very conducive thing. That's why the Damodar Lila is there. So by meditating on that Lilas, so when we are vacant, when we are not actively engaged our senses, at that time mind is becoming wild. So at that time we need to think something. We can meditate some slokas. We can write some slokas on a piece of paper, keep it in the pocket, and we can take it out the slokas, and we can meditate. We can memorize that verse. And by memorizing that verse, our mind will be absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Because now we don't have anurag. We are not in raganuga bhakti. So we are in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti practicing devotees. So at this stage, the mind may not be automatically attached to Krishna consciousness. So that's why uh, we need to find out some way, some means to engage our mind. And as we have read, as we have understood from Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, the essence of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is what? Jeno teno prakareno mano Krishna nivesha. Somehow or other, remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So if this purpose is happening, then mind will not be agitated. Okay. So the result is that when the mind is controlled, when one is devoid of the thirst for material enjoyment, the urges of the eyes, ears, and other senses become pacified. So that is the point. Now we need to pacify the senses. Senses are wildly looking for some sensual satisfactions. And another thing is Jaha Krishna Tahanai, Jaha Shurjo, Jaha Krishna Tahanai Maya Radhika. So if we can arise in our mind the Krishna consciousness, then there will not be any problem to control the mind. মায়া হয় কৃষ্ণ সূর্য সম মায়া হয় অন্ধকার যাহা কৃষ্ণ তাহা নয় মায়ার অধিকার. So this is the avirot priti and the solution of the avirot priti. And that is virodha yukta krodha. What is virodha yukta krodha? Virodha yukta krodha is anger is caused by frustration and mental desire. That means when we have some unrestricted attachment for some object, and somehow or other it got baffled, it is not successful, then we become angry and we become frustrated. So this is what actually happens in mental world. In mental world, we try to fulfill our desire, but we hardly able to successfully do it. So we get frustrated, and that's how we get anger. When the desire, we cannot fulfill the desire, we become frustrated. So that's why by frustration of mental desire, when the Gyanis and Dhonis and materialistic cannot fulfill their plans or desire, they become angry. In anger, one uses harsh words. Sometimes we see people are using very harsh words. So because they are very angry. Something has happened, some little bit, some dashing, pushing, something has been happened. So they become very, very angry. Controlling anger, how we can control this anger? Anger cannot be stopped. So now, from this avirot yukta krodha, it is coming to the anger. This anger is also a mental activity. It is coming from mind control. So manosha. So we are vacho begam, krodha. Krodha is another bega. So this Krodha Vega, how we can control the Krodha? This Krodha, Prabhupada is telling that Krodha cannot be stopped, but it can be used in Krishna's service by applying it against those who blaspheme the Lord and His devotee. So when we are preaching, we are telling about that we preach very strongly against Mayavad philosophy, isn't it? We preach strongly about the materialistic philosophy. So this is how we can uh, preach those who are. We can use our anger. Prabhupada also has used his anger in writing, in speaking, so like that. And and here Prabhupada has given some examples, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became angry for when Jagai Mata to kill the Jagai Mata. Hanuman became angry uh, and set the Lanka in fire. And Arjuna, Krishna has spoken Bhagavad Gita just to uh, make Arjuna uh, anger to grow up, so that he can fight vigorously. So Arjuna fought the Kurukshetra war to serve Krishna. So, but each and every case here, the devotees wanted to serve Krishna. So Hanuman wanted to serve Lord Rama, Arjuna wanted to serve Lord Krishna, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself wanted to serve Nityananda Prabhu actually. Because when he heard that Nityananda Prabhu was injured by Jagai Madhai, I think by Jagai, uh, then he was furious. So we need to practice tolerance when something happens to us, but we should become very angry when in front of us someone tries to blaspheme the devotees of Lord. So this is how we can control the anger. Now, the urges of the body, tongue, belly, and genitals. These are the bodily urges. The tongue, belly, and genitals. This fall in the same line. Okay. And it starts with the tongue. So if the tongue is controlled, Prabhupada will say, if the tongue is controlled, all the things will be controlled. Okay. So the first thing here also Prabhupada given the example of how the tongue can be controlled. All we know the tongue can be controlled by utilizing the tongue in Krishna Prasad. Okay. So in that context, so this is the Abhirot Priti. As the agitation of the flickering mind, they are divided into two divisions. The first is called Abhirot Priti, another is called Virod Yukta anger. Anger is rising to frustration, adherence to the flow of the world. So this we have discussed. So here, so the demands of the body can be divided into three categories. The demands of the tongue, the belly, and the genitals. So one may observe that these three senses are physically situated in the straight line as far as the body is concerned, and that body demands begin with the tongue. If one can restrain the demands of the tongue by limiting its activity to the eating of the prasad, the urges of the belly and the genitals can also be controlled. In this connection, so Bhakti Thakur has said this. This is our favorite prayers, because we know that because after reciting this prayer, we are going to honor most wonderful prasad. So this is good actually. শরীর অবিদ্যা জাল জড়মিত তাহে কাল জিহা জিয়ে ফেলে বিষয়ে সাগরে তার মধ্যে জিহা অতি লোভময় সুদূর আগে যেটা কৃষ্ণ বড় দয়াময় পরিবার জিহ্বা দায় জিহ্বা যায় সপ্রসাদ অন্ন দিলাও সেই অন্নামৃত খাও রাধা কৃষ্ণ গুণ গাও প্রেমের আগচিত. So this we all know about this thing. So here actually the prasad, there is a here the devotees in Delhi, they have made a wonderful acronym of prasad. Prasad means Prabhu ka Sakshat Darshan. So actually this is Prabhu ka Sakshat Darshan, being maximum devotees. They started their journey and they remain in this Krishna conscious journey by the wonderful prasad. That is good actually. The jiha, the tongue is satisfied by taking Krishna prasad. Only thing we need to see that we should not take over it, that we should not digest properly. Otherwise, prasad is okay. So there are 6 kinds of rasas are there. The 6 kinds of rasas are like charvo, chosho, lecho, peo. There are 6 kind of in the Ayurveda described. There are 6 kinds of rashas are there, and if one is agitated by any one of them, he becomes uncontrolled by the urge of the tongue. Okay. So some persons are attached to the eating of the meat, fish. So, so they are also fulfilling the urges of the tongue by eating nonsense, by eating which which should not be eaten by human beings. So they use those kind of things to fulfill their tongue, to fulfill the urges of the tongue. So including the use of the extra quantities of spices like chili and tamarind is to be given by the person. So we should not use uh, uh, spicy things. Others are attracted by eating vegetables, creepers, spinach, or milk products, but all processing the tongue's demand. So eating vegetarian or non-vegetarian doesn't matter. Whether we are eating to satisfy our senses or we are accepting the remnants of Krishna Prasad. So that is the point. We have seen this. We have all have a practical experience that when we have gone to Jagannath Puri and we have so much appetite, we are so hungry, but after taking some little prasadam, we get quickly get very satisfied, and we don't feel hunger. But when we go to if when earlier, not now, earlier when we used to visit some material restaurant, we used to take so many food, but we don't feel satisfied because that is how the the restaurant, the commercial food shops make their food, that they should it should further increase our appetite. But Krishna Prasad is not like that. So we need to see that how by eating prasadam, and that is what Prabhupada has many a time said, that if we keep restricted our tongue, only tasting Krishna Prasad and speaking Krishna Katha, then we will be in perfection in Krishna Katha. Ruj, I will take the question, just let me complete this section, I will take the question. So, so the point is, the six kind of taste is sweet, sour, bitter, pungent, salty, and astringent. Can agitate the tongue and bring one under the control of its eye. Okay. So these are the six kind of. Well, that is actually four kind of things. Uh, Chorbochosho lechopyo. That is another category. Okay, that is a type of food, and this is six kind of taste. Actually, this is a taste. Our tongue has a different taste bud in different position. So that is actually called about the six kind of taste: sweet, sour, bitter, pungent, salty, and astringent. Can agitate the tongue and bring one. So eating the food, following types of food only for the gratification of the tongue must be avoided. Dead bodies, that means non-vegetarian food. Intoxicants, then pan, hartaki, betel, nuts, tobacco, LSD, uh, liquor, coffee, tea, opium, hemp, marijuana, all these are intoxicants. And spices, use of extra spices like chili, tamarind, and even onion and garlic. So all this falls under these arches. Okay, eating uh, wrong kind of food, which will agitate our sense gratification. So we need to eat prasadam. So prasadam will satisfy us. Even prasadam makes one fall prey. So even while taking the prasadam, we need to be very much alert. What alertness is required? Even prasadam makes one fall prey to the demands of the tongue. If one eats too much prasadam only for its taste. Sometimes when there is a say paneer razella in the prasadam, so people devotees become ecstatic and start overeating, but that causes difficulty next day. So we need not to prasadam. We need to take very carefully. We need to take whatever is required. Secondly, how prasadam can make us fall into prey of the demand of the arches is secondly the offer tasty food to the deity with an intention to eat nice food. So if we are eating prasadam also, but with the prasadam that we have offered, we have an intention that actually just I want to enjoy. That's why I am offering this prasadam. So I want to enjoy something which may not be offerable, but I just want to offer it just to enjoy. for my enjoyment. So that should also be avoided. Thirdly, accepts invitation of a rich man with the idea of receiving palatable food. So sometimes this happens. Sometimes the devotees get invitation and they uh, visited. They usually visit many devotees' house also. Devotees or well-wisher or donors' house, and they know from visiting which house they will get wonderful prasad. So if they become that type of calculation goes in our mind, then what will happen? Jiharo lalo se jei iti uti thai Shishno dura parayana Krishna nahi pai. So what will happen? That person who runs here and there, seeking to gratify his palate, and who is always attached to the desires of his stomach and genital, is unable to attain Krishna. This is a very strong statement and very strong warning that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given. So in that context, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here, Srila Prabhupada is explained what instruction Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given to Raghunath Das Goswami. ভালো না খাইবে আর ভালো না পরিবে. Do not dress luxuriously and do not eat delicious food stuff. This we have to maintain. If we want to uh, tolerate the urges of senses. So we should not be, we should not do any mental calculation that we will visit this person's house specifically. Wherever the service is required, I need to visit. I should not be driven that by this consideration that by visiting that person's house I will get wonderful prasadam. So then, even by eating prasadam also, we will be come under the control of tongue. And fasting, eating more than necessary causes stomach disease. Observing fasting days like Ekadashi, Janmashtami, etc., can restrain the demands of the belly. So how the belly can be restricted? So now the tongue is restricted, and then the belly is restricted. Okay. Belly means actually the hunger comes in the belly. Okay. It doesn't come in the mouth, in the tongue. So hunger comes actually in the belly. So the belly is to be given the right kind of food. So that right kind of food is prasadam. And in the Ekadashi and the appearance day of Lords, we should perform fasting. By doing that, the belly's demand will be reduced. We can easily control the belly's demand. So recently, there were Nirjala Ekadashi, and we have tried. Might be many of you also have tried to do the Nirjala Ekadashi. Actually, the point is Nirjala Ekadashi or Janmashtami. The point is not to keep our body. That is not the main focus. That I am keeping my belly on fasting, or myself keeping fasting means I am not eating any food. But the point is to engage our senses in Krishna's service. Okay, may not be very physically exhaustive service, but some service like chanting, hearing, this much we can do, so that the Ekadashi can be passed very easily and very Krishna conscious way. Okay. So now regarding the upastha begam. Upastha means the genitals. So how the genital can be controlled? The one way is the marriage. Genital can be controlled by producing Krishna conscious children. Okay. So the urges of genital or sex impulse can be legal or illicit, applicable to householders and renunciants. For both the persons. For the renunciants, those who are dhiyattagi, they should completely refrain from any kind of sexual indulgence. But for grihasthas, it is permitted, but it is regulated. Okay, the marriage, according to the Shastras, becoming a grihastha and using the genital for the begetting good project. So the utilization of the upastha of the genital should be restricted in this thing. So here, Sir Prabhupada has written clearly that is legal and religious. Otherwise, he may adopt many artificial means to satisfy the demands of the genitals, and he may not be using any restraint. So this I am not explaining. All of you are mature and you know what Prabhupada is meaning. So in this Kali Yuga, these things are very rampant. So here Prabhupada is giving a warning that if we really want to control or tolerate the urges of senses, urges of the genitals, we should follow these instructions given by Srila Prabhupada. So the best thing is to be properly mature. When a man is properly mature, he can marry according to the rules and regulations of Shastra. So here Prabhupada is using one very important word, mature. So marriage should be, we should enter into married life after becoming mature. Mature means mature in Krishna consciousness. He can marry according to the rules and regulations of Shastra and use his genital for begetting nice children. So this is what, and Prabhupada has given in many, these things are clearly written in Bhagavatam, many places. Prabhupada wanted devotees should be doing the Garbhadhan Sanskar, and the Garbhadhan Sanskar is nothing else but to chant 50 rounds before they engage in begetting children. So there are many instructions are there. So the main point is, if you really want, and this is not very difficult. The difficulty comes when we are not restricting our tongue to be utilized only in Krishna Prasad. From there, the difficulty starts. If the tongue is not controlled, the genitals and the belly will not be controlled. If the tongue is controlled, the other things will be automatically taken care. So here in the Prema Vivarta, Jagannath Pandit said, বৈরাগী ভাই গ্রাম্য কথা না শুনিবে কানে, গ্রাম্য বার্তা না কহিবে যাবে মিলিবে আনে, স্বপনেও না করো ভাই স্ত্রী সম্ভাষণ, গৃহে স্ত্রী ছাড়িয়া ভাই আসিয়াছ বন, যদি চাহ প্রণয় রাখিতে গৌরাঙ্গের সনে, ছোট হরিদাসের কথা থাকে যেন মনে, ভালো না খাইবে আর ভালো না পরিবে, হৃদয়েতে রাধা কৃষ্ণ সর্বদা সেবিবে। So Chota Haridas, we know all the pastime of Chota Haridas. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was how much strict about this. Chota Haridas was just little bit when he was not engaged physically, just in mind. When he has gone to take the bhiksha, collect the alms from particular house, he was having little lusty desire towards the young girl who was there in that house. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was offered the prasadam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately understood and he rejected Chota Haridas. Because even though he was a Grihatyagi, he come in the renunciant ashram, Sannyas ashram, but he was having in his mind some illicit inclination, just inclination, nothing action. So that is actually from this Chota Haridas Thakur, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is setting the example that how much we should be cautious about this kind of thing. Regarding the control of the genitals. So, the conclusion is that these 6 urges present various types of obstacles. So the conclusion is that one can control these 6 items: speech, mind, anger, and tongue, belly, genitals. Is to be called a Swami or Goswami. At this point, we need to understand that we should be, Srila Prabhupada wanted by this book, by reading this book, we should become Goswami. Goswami means what? Means the master. Goswami means master of the Govas. Then when one accepts the renouncement of life, he automatically assumes that I am Goswami. This does not mean that he is the master of his family, community, or society. He must be the master of his senses. Unless one is the master of the senses, he could not be called Goswami. But he is a Godas. So that is the point, whether we are leading our life as a Godas or as a Goswami. So that we need to understand. And then in that context, Prahlad Maharaj, this wonderful verse is explained. Modhila Krishne Parato Satova Vidho Bhavipaddheto Grihavidanam Padanta Gobhir Vishatam Tamisram Punas Charvita Charvananam. Someone can read the translation?
For those who have decided to continue their existence in this material world for the gratification of their senses, there is no chance of becoming Krishna conscious, not by personal endeavor, by instruction from others, or by joint conferences. They are dragged by the unbridled senses into the darkest region of ignorance, and thus they madly engage in what is called chewing the chew.
Yes. Chorbita chorbina, charvana. So it is like the sugar cane. The sugar cane, after we chew the sugar cane and we throw it away, someone throw it away, the sugar cane. And someone has picked up that chewed sugar cane and is chewing once again just to find out some rasha, some juice. Is it possible or is it a right way to do? It is not possible. So we are actually doing this. Engaging in sense enjoyment means actually we are trying to derive sensual pleasure from that chewed sugarcane straw, sugarcane remnants. So everybody has experienced okay, the hollowness, or what I can say in the Bengal, it is called অন্তঃসার শূন্যতা। জড়জাগতিক in জড়জাগতিক সুখের অন্তঃসার শূন্যতা, অন্তঃশূন্যতা English what can be the English of the অন্তঃসার শূন্যতা, like it is actually does not have any value, does not give our heart satisfaction. Okay, so we need to be very much cautious that particularly the mental platform what is going on. So we need to see again and again that whether we are having some hidden sensual inclination that might be choking up my progress in Krishna consciousness. So devotees, if there is anything, see, mind in the mind something may come. So we need to obviously discuss. We should not keep it in ourselves. We should discuss with our superior authority with whom we have the faith. We will see in the fourth verse. This is called Rucha Makati Picture. This is very important. There are four kinds of exchanges that are there. So we always need to discuss, need to open our hearts that Prabhu, I am facing this problem. If we have Shiksha Guru, our mentor, our counselor, or it's possible directly to our spiritual masters, if it is possible, and ask, inquire, confidential, and take guidance and overcome that hidden inclinations, hidden non-devotional or anti-devotional inclinations. So this is where we ended our discussion on first verse. So shall we take a brief break of 5 minutes and then we will start the verse number 2? Or any question, any comment? Someone in between has tried to ask me a question. So now I can take the question. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, I am just trying to remember. I forgot the question too. Yes, Prabhu. So there was one place where we were discussing that eating non-veg is also sense gratification, and trying to go for vegetables is also sense gratification. So, but isn't there a difference, Prabhu? Like somebody who is like both are sin, but isn't there a difference in consciousness that somebody who is considering that I will not eat non-veg because it is is there not any difference
The
between?
difference, obviously, the difference is there. Someone is vegetarian. Vegetarianism is better than non-vegetarianism, but Krishnatarian is the best.
Uh,
That is the point. Because Prabhupada has given example that goats and monkeys are also vegetarian. So what is the great deal? Becoming vegetarian is nothing to be proud. Okay, the situation is such abominable in human society that yes, if someone is vegetarian, particularly in Bengal, someone is vegetarian, they consider themselves the demigod. Okay, so but it is not there in North India or Western India. Western India is most of the people are vegetarians, and for them only the onion and garlic is the problem. In Bengal, fortunately, vegetarian means no onion and no garlic. But in other places, not like that. So, vegetarian is obviously better because they are not committing as gross sin like like the non-vegetarian people. They are not killing animal, but they are not acknowledging Krishna's gift.
In Bengal, Prabhu, there is one more thing, like they will eat non-veg but without onion garlic, and they will consider it good.
That
So
is
many, yes, yes, Prabhu. So in my area, so when there were certain people, ladies, my acquaintances of my mother, so they came to know that I don't eat. So they were like, "Oh, your son will grow thin. Okay, মাছ করে দাও পেঁয়াজ রসুন ছাড়া."
no, but actually আমি যেটা জানি সেটা হচ্ছে আমিষ খাদ্য বস্তুকে হজম করানোতে সাহায্য করে পেঁয়াজ রসুন দিলে। পেঁয়াজ রসুন দেওয়ার ফলে আমিষের যে যে একটা পাঞ্জেন্ট স্মেল সেটা চলে যায়, ঠিক আছে? সেজন্য আমিষ আহারের সঙ্গে পেঁয়াজ রসুন দেওয়াটা বাঞ্ছনীয়। ইট ইজ রিকোয়ার্ড অ্যাকচুয়ালি।
Here, I was very shocked to hear that, but it is many
I
people
also,
who
I also
follow.
this is a very new thing
Many,
for me also.
many people they will follow this. That let's say they are doing some kind of austerity or fasting or anything, so they will not eat onion garlic, but they can consider fish, eating fish without onion garlic.
This is quite interestingly peculiar. Okay, any question? Anything want to clarify? Any question which is already given in the book and you want to understand from text one and preface, closed book, open book, anything? Or you can take some break. 5 minute break is okay. We can start from 4:30. I think 6 minutes. We can take a break. Otherwise, it may be at a stage it is going one after another. So we can come back at 6:30. 4:30. And if anybody has any question, then